All right, Pops. How you doing today?
All right, Sonny boy. I'm doing good. I'm living large down here at the shore. Beautiful sunny day. Can't wait to walk up to the boardwalk and not be allowed to get on it.
Yeah, well, hopefully that only lasts for a short while longer. Things get back to normal. But you sent me an interesting article last night. Seems like I used to be the one that would send the articles to you. Now all of a sudden it's a bit of a role reversal. I kind of like it. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, well, and this one was about pickup trucks.
Yes.
Now I've talked about it before. My car, not a pickup truck. Either, yeah, when I lived at your house, we never had pickup trucks. It never really fit into our family. But uh, this article was talking about pickup trucks being in short supply, and now,
Yes.
you know, now that we're working on behalf of our customers, I'm thinking back to your work experience. That I mean, you were at Audi, you were at Acura, you were at BMW, you were at Mini. They all never really had pickup trucks. So I never really was exposed to pickup trucks. And then I read this article, and pickup trucks are in short supply. And we put out a video just a few days ago talking about how now is actually might be the right time to buy a new car. And it
Yeah. I
actually,
think I think the key word in that is car, as it turns out, and not truck. And so we did that video Saturday morning,
yeah,
which is last time I checked, just 2 days ago,
yeah,
and a lot can happen in 2 days' time. And the reality of the situation is that some of the advice in that video was on point, and for some of our customers, it's not. And the part that's not is our customers that are looking for pickup trucks. Um, Now might not necessarily be the best time to buy a pickup truck unless you absolutely need one,
yeah,
because uh, Dodge trucks and GMC trucks and Chevy Silverado trucks, um, the day supply of those is falling quickly. And so one of the first laws of economics is the law of supply and demand.
yeah,
And if you have a high demand and a low supply, well, you don't have to discount at all or as much. If you have no demand and a high supply, well, you gotta discount the hell out of the stuff. So I think from the car side of things, now could be a very good time to buy a car if you're into a car or a sedan of
yeah.
some kind or a coupe. But it might not necessarily be, in some cases, the best time to be looking at a pickup or an SUV.
Yeah, and you know, while I was thinking about it, there was the United Auto Workers strike that happened earlier this year as well. That I know in the article they talk about it. It really impacted already.
Yeah,
Um,
that was last fall.
Last fall. Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
that impacted supply side to begin with, and then you compound that with factories being closed in a variety of locations because of COVID-19.
Yes.
You end up with dealers who are saying, my days of inventory are actually kind of dwindling here, and we've talked about in other videos. You've shared, when you were in your management position, that was one of the numbers that you looked at most religiously, wasn't it? Was the how many days supply of cars did you have? And I remember I asked you one time, and if you don't mind speaking to it, leading into the Great Recession back in '07 and '08, that was the first indicator you saw that we were going to get. I don't want to use the F word, but we were going to get really screwed.
And we did, and I did. Yes, I mean, the biggest point about being in any business is watching your supplies and watching your inventory and seeing how quickly the inventory is turning. And so I tracked on a weekly basis what my running 90-day average of sales were for each model of Acura that we had. And so I could see if I had more cars coming in than going out, and my 90-day average of sales was going down, but my amount of inventory was going up. And that was the first sign to me that I think there's trouble ahead. Our day supply of cars, especially with TLs, because that was the bulk of the Acura business, TLs and MDXs. The number of the day supply of TLs was growing rapidly,
Yeah.
and the number of monthly sales of TLs was declining rapidly. Well, you put those two together, and that spells doom, and and we saw that. So you have to keep an eye on your inventory levels and how quickly they're turning. And for pickup trucks, I think most of the manufacturers like to have somewhere between the 90 and 120-day supply of pickup trucks on the ground. And right now, like for the Silverado and stuff, it's less than that. It's 70 to 80-day supply, and the supply isn't going to get built up anytime soon because, well, they're not building any of the vehicles. I mean, they might be building some, but they're not building them in the numbers that are going to be needed moving forward. So they're not replenishing the supply. And if the supply isn't being replenished, then the value of what you have on hand is going to go up.
Yep. And then
Yeah.
think about the fact that buying a vehicle of any type, whether it be a car, sedan, a coupe, a light or a heavy duty pickup truck, it doesn't matter. For a lot of people, it's their second largest purchase in their life. And even if it isn't, it still represents a pretty big commitment. You want the one that you want, right? And so when supply starts to become short and you're looking for something that's optioned a specific way at a specific trim level with this color interior and this color exterior, you start to kind of pigeonhole yourself into what options you have and what little leverage you're able to build. And that's what's so interesting about this new data that came out is that for pickup trucks, if you're looking for that one, you're probably going to pay a premium.
One of the things I can share with you is that when there's an adequate supply of vehicles, customers can be very picky and are. And when there's a limited supply of vehicles, it's amazing exactly what they'll settle for. And the reason I say that from experience, at one of the mini stores, or at the mini store that I helped manage. Um, there was a time when we sold so many minis that we were down to, like, we only had a handful left in stock, maybe 15 or 18.
Wow.
And people might want what they want, but they took what we had because we were in no different a position than any other mini dealership at the time. Everybody, we were just, the demand was so high because the cost of gasoline was so high,
Right.
that people were willing to just settle. So I know one of the things that you ask our customers and that I ask our customers is, please share with me what your must-haves are.
Yep.
Okay, because your must-haves are completely different from your I'd like to haves.
Definitely.
And I know when I do it, when I build cars for myself, when I go, okay, I'm going to get a new car, and what do I have to have, and then what do I settle for? There are always two different cars. Because I start to rationalize the stuff that I don't really need, that, well, I just would have liked to have
Yeah.
had. And that's what happens to customers when vehicles are in short supply. It no longer becomes, I have to have this. I just have to have the damn truck.
Yeah.
Okay. And if it has most of what I wanted, I could be okay with that.
Well, let me ask you a question, Ray. If you can speak to like the behind the scenes, the meetings that you would have, weekly or monthly when you're reviewing your inventory, did you ever have, I mean, yeah, I guess obviously in that mini instance, what were the conversations around, okay, we have a very short supply of inventory, we're turning it quick. If you've got a customer that comes in and makes an offer, how did you handle your pricing, and how would you train your salespeople for that instance when you knew you were in a position of power?
I hate to use the word power, but you would remind your salespeople to remind your customers that the first law of economics is supply and demand.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, folks. And I would love to be able to give you a deal, but I can't. I don't know how, if I only have 15 cars to sell this month, that I can justify giving you a discount when the next person coming in will be more than happy to pay MSRP or even more. We have a business to run, and I'm not saying that we're trying to take advantage of you. We're not. We're just trying to maximize our return on investment when we are running out of product to get future return on investment from.
Yeah.
Um, and it was, for me, it was the way I did most of the things. I was honest with people. You tell them the truth. It's the same thing when I would have, and I hate to say this because we do it to dealers all the time when we're shopping for our customers. I used to say to customers that would get in touch with me from New York or Connecticut or wherever, and they go, "Well, I want a really cheap price." And I'd say, "Will you please explain to me the business model where it makes sense for me to sell you the car for nothing,
Yeah.
to make nothing, so that you can take the car to Connecticut, and when it's time to get it serviced, I don't know, you're taking it to the dealer in Connecticut and not bringing it to me."
Yeah.
If I don't have a way to make up for the lost profit on the sale by servicing the vehicle, why would I want to sell it out of my marketplace? I want to keep it in my market so that I can hopefully service the vehicle. I can hopefully sell them a detail when it's time to get the car detailed again, or if they need an accessory or a part or whatever, that I could be the one selling it to them, so I could reap some small profit from that to justify the lack of profit in the car deal. So you kind of have to think of it from both ends. And I know we put the same pressure on dealers all the time. And the reason we do it is because we know there's enough dealers out there that, well, it becomes an ego thing, and they just want to show that they can sell the car, and they'll do whatever it takes. So good. I'm playing into their weakness of their ego, that they have to show the other dealers that they can do it.
Which
I was more pragmatic than that.
which also though is influenced by what we've talked about in the past, the factory to dealer incentives, right? If it's the end of the month and you're 5 cars away and you got a showroom full of people, you might take, but 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 coming full circle here and really looking at the big picture. There was a strike earlier, during the fall of last year, so we
Yes.
already had down production for certain makes and models.
Yes.
We have an industry that has been trending towards people moving away from sedans to trucks and SUVs.
Yes.
Then we have the unfortunate shutdown of factories that are really cutting off supply.
Hmm.
So when you start to break out the industry into its subsectors based off of type of vehicle, you have very different stories. You have the story that we referenced the other day that was part of the driver for why we even talked about now being a good time to buy a new car, emphasis
Hmm.
on car. I mean, there are literally ships in the ocean that can't dock to get rid of Toyota, sedans and get them on, on ground. Toyota is leasing.
It was Nissans, but that's besides the point.
Thank you. I think it's either Toyota or Nissan is leasing a sports, event area where they could actually, store vehicles away from the port area because it's cheaper. I mean, they haven't done it yet, but they've leased that space to do it. So there are
Yeah.
very legit concerns on the supply side of that segment of the car industry, and on this other end, it's the polar opposite.
Well, and for instance, we talked about the incentives the other day and what
Yeah,
the average cost to a manufacturer was, and for every vehicle sold, and for BMW, it was 60 some $100
yeah,
per car to help them move the units to a retail customer. But if you look within the incentives today will be higher to help move the sedans and the coupes and the convertibles and things like that, and much lower to move the SUVs and the pickup trucks that are in somewhat shorter supply. The overall total might be higher because the overall day supply of the sedans and the convertibles and the coupes is much higher than where they want it to be.
yeah.
Um, so the average might be higher, but the amount per type of vehicle will fluctuate greatly.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what we'll do is we'll link to this most recent automotive news article in the description of this video. I think you have to have a subscription to be able to view it.
I
Um,
do believe that is so.
I think that's the case.
Yeah.
However, if you do, definitely read it. If you don't, this is the meat and potatoes of that article, and we can speak to it from our own experience working for our clients. I mean, I'm working 2 Jeep Gladiator deals right now at the same time. I know you're working Silverado deals, and it's just the polar opposite of the experience I'm having when I'm working on like a Corolla deal. Like a Corolla is a piece of cake. I can get a good deal for a customer, like not saying that they shouldn't work with us, but it's not rocket science when there's too much, too
Well,
much.
I think you found some relative ease in, say, working on a minivan,
Definitely.
which is different than a small pickup truck or a light truck. Um, so yeah, I mean, we see it in the vehicles that we're trying to deal with.
Yeah. We'll have to see, and we'll see over the coming days if there's more data that comes out on the luxury side, because you can break out the auto industry into its segments based off of type of vehicle, but also luxury versus economy. And I'm very interested to see what's going to happen on the supply side for luxury vehicles, as we've seen such an increase in unemployment. Maybe you have less people who are reaching for those luxury vehicles. Maybe that'll drive up supply. I have no clue. I'm speculating right now, but well, it'll be interesting to get some data and some guidance there.
Well, I will say this, that certain luxury vehicles are aspirational,
Mhm.
and those aspirations take a back seat when you suddenly find yourself unemployed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we've both been there.
What was that, Zach?
I said I think we've both been there before.
Yes. So yeah, but there is a nice size set of customers who make a nice living, and even in a downturn like this will continue to make a nice living and will continue to buy luxury cars. But those that were on the aspirational end of getting those cars, the Lexuses, the Mercedes, the BMWs, the Volvos, things like that, that might be taking a little bit of a backseat, because presently there's 30 million people that find themselves out of work who weren't 6 or 7 weeks ago, who at the present time are no longer in the market to buy a car of any kind.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we're keeping tabs on this stuff. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, let us know what you'd like to hear about in the industry, and we'll share updates as quickly as we're able to consume the information. It's a wild time to be in this business and see how things are ebbing and flowing. But yeah, there you go. Pickup trucks. Let's see what happens. It's tricky times to get a good deal right about now.
It seems to be.